Herman Diess, the SAC CEO of Volkswagen, must be laughing his little socks off. And Oliver Bloom, the new VW CAO, must be pacing the carpet sleeplessly each night. VW's in a mess. No, not even talking about going bust, that remains firmly on the cards. Nor about the union strikes, those will continue. Nor about the absolutely massive, even obscene sums of money in dividends, over $5 billion a year, being paid from the VW group to the ultra-rich Porsche and Peach families. No, concentrating here just purely on their EV ambitions, because that is a story in itself. Dave Takes It On digs a lot deeper to find where VW is heading. I'm Dave, this is Dave Takes It On. Well, the VW Group was a really early EV dabbler with vehicles way back in the 70s that obviously never caught on. Then in the 80s with the Golf variants, and they never caught on. Then there was a big gap until 2016 when the ID.3 was announced, and that did actually catch on. 2022, Volkswagen sold 330,000 of them, a 23% increase from 2021, and 2024 they'll likely sell around about 500,000 vehicles in total. So VW is by no means a Ford or a GM, both with pitiful 75,000-ish EV sales last year. Ford unlikely to crack the 100,000 this full year. Ford got diverted into the dead end that's hybrids, and they're now beginning to see their mistake. That is a far cry from Ford's stated target of 500,000 BEVs by 2024 and nipping at the heels of Tesla soon after. GM will do better this year, maybe 150,000, having put more effort into BEVs. But CEO of GM, Mary Barra's target of overtaking Tesla by 2025 and becoming market leader, nah, nowhere near. They had a record-breaking Q3 with 32,000 EV sales. Well, definitely not a Toyota with 25,000 for the whole year. The rest are all hybrids of one sort or another. Be careful with sales figures, as some include PHEVs and HEVs in their electric figures, others don't. Well, here I concentrate on BEVs, or battery electric vehicles, which by definition run only on battery. By the way, I'm going to totally ignore hybrids from here on. Most are actually driven as pure petrol. The majority have never even had their batteries charged. The UK government has finally recognised this, and the new benefit in kind and tax breaks and incentives are all being reduced or withdrawn. Vehicle excise duty or road tax on PHEV and HEV is also to increase dramatically. They're now no longer so attractive, and therefore sales will continue to crash and accelerate. Yes, in theory, a PHEV could be beneficial, but for that, every single one would have to be plugged in and topped up every single day or night. That is just not happening. November 2024 new car sales, figures from SMMT, show that what is already happening, with both PHEV and HEV sales down versus 2023, and both sell about half as many as BEVs, fully electric vehicles. And those sales, full electric vehicles, have grown 58.4% versus 2023. Year to date, BEVs outsell both PHEVs and HEVs. Diesel and petrol are both just dropping off a cliff. Long before 2030, the UK target date for the end of the sale of new ICE cars, those with no electric propulsion at all, sales will have dropped to pretty much zero. Their future is already sealed. PHEVs and HEVs are also on the road to nowhere. Many people who did buy or lease one and did actually charge at home, treating them as they were meant to be treated, plugging them in every day, suddenly discovered that in fact they never actually needed to put in any or very much fossil fuel. The reasons for choosing a hybrid were often scare stories about range, lack of charging infrastructure, and they found out for themselves these to have been lies. These people are very likely to choose a full BEV next time. But existing hybrids have a serious problem with batteries. You see, if you never charge your PHEV, as most don't, then driving around with a nearly flat battery day after day, month after month, does immense damage. Yeah, they get a little bit from regen, but they use it up very quickly. These batteries are very likely to fail prematurely and make the used PHEV almost worthless. It's not a problem for you if you lease, but a big problem for the industry. BMW recognise this and only give a 6-year warranty on their PHEV batteries. In contrast, pure BEVs get an 8-year warranty and find in practice in the real world that they last an awful lot longer. My 9-year-old Tesla Model S battery is likely to have another 10 or 20 years life in it. There is a link to my recent full battery analysis and the surprising results down below. So petrol and diesel are about finished. Hybrids are rapidly falling out of favour and will be anyway discontinued by 2035. BEVs are in. What a surprise. It was Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, who said after his first road trip in an F-150 Lightning EV that 90% of all US drivers could cope quite happily with an EV. So where is Volkswagen in their BEV quest? Well, total mess. They threw their hat into the ring a few years ago to do joint venture deals with the Chinese. Certain EV companies, that's now backfired. They are virtually closing them down. The EU doesn't want them. They're going to get tariffed out of existence if the EU Commission has anything to do with it. GM, by the way, did the same. They've just announced they will lose $5 billion on their little Chinese venture. VW worked with a number of Chinese software companies to try to fix their appalling software issues. Yeah, not only most EV drivers, VW drivers, but even VW itself admit it's pretty bad. That crashed and burned. And with Europe cracking down on hybrids, the hybrid future is now very limited. VW is getting boxed into where Herman Diess found they were heading half a decade earlier. But when he revealed the way out in the future, back in 2020, he just eventually got sacked. That future, the only way forward, is full 100% EVs. Well, the latest ventures show a measure of desperation setting in. Chinese software couldn't actually help them, so they just gave a massive sack full of cash, it's about $3.5 billion, to Rivian for them to create the next gen of software that will solve all of VW's problems. It won't. See, as Jim Farley also said, he buys in thousands of parts and they all come with their own little proprietary software package supplied by the individual manufacturers. Getting one single software package to control all of them is an absolute nightmare. And that is why Tesla, Rivian and the vast majority of Chinese EV manufacturers all make most of their components and systems, software systems, in-house. And why they start with the software and make everything compatible with that before it's even made or fitted to the car. VW will need to find a new supply chain and tell them the single standard that Rivian will have found for them. That's all going to take time. In the meantime, the new Rivian system will launch and will suffer, in my opinion, similar issues. Even Apple could not get their OS happily running flawlessly, working memory, storage, components and software that was designed specifically for Windows or Android. They don't work together very well. There are workarounds. Well, VW has also announced a new venture with XPeng for their latest EV platform. XPeng has gone storming ahead, has now integrated AI into the next range of EVs, making them among the most powerful and flexible in the world. Setting aside the EU tariff issue, for the moment, VW will find it needs a massive transition from a conventionally manufactured EV assembled using traditional components in a mass production factory method to one using almost 100% software to control and enhance everything within the car. This shift to SDVs, software-defined vehicles, is seen as fundamental for the future advancement of EVs and specifically autonomous EVs. Poor VW, they just got used to making EVs the old-fashioned way and they find they now need to start again. Mind you, that is one better than Ford and GM, who don't even know yet that what they're doing and the plans they're working to are totally out of date. Boy, do they have a shock coming. Well, Tesla and BYD discovered this many years ago. Tesla started the SDV trend right from the start. BYD copied it many years ago. XPeng and a few others are rapidly catching up. Most of the rest don't even know yet what is in store for them. For them, it must be like working really hard to make the very best, fastest, most powerful desktop PCs in the whole world and gear up to mass produce them, when in reality their customers have already switched to tablets and smartphones and laptops and all but stopped buying desktop computers years earlier. Just a niche market of gamers who still like the desktops. Well, I hope that Xpeng and Rivian between them can educate VW and bring them up to date. I also hope that VW this time listens to what is needed and then actually carries that out. I fear neither of those will happen. VW is firmly set in the past, has massive historic legacy issues, and will see this as many, many steps too far. I suspect they still believe, right at the top, that there will always be a market for ICE cars and that giving up their existing ICE and hybrid business for a leap into the future will be a massive step backwards. This is an industry with a proud heritage, cannot understand that the era has come to an end. Europe is unlikely willing or able to bail them out, keep them going. That would be a simply overwhelming sum of money because they are just one of ever so many other legacy auto in exactly the same boat. History also shows that repeated bailouts rarely save failing established companies. Bailouts are great for helping a company or industry to get started and established. Thereafter, bailouts almost always fail. Nothing lasts forever. From way back, right back to the Neanderthals, the Egyptians, the Romans, up to more modern British Empire, British Leyland. VW, I'm afraid, is no exception. I'm Dave.